welcome to another episode of the Ayurvedic Therapist. Today I have my beautiful friend and client Sydney here. She is an incredible being, and we've known each other for years. She has been coming to Moto Yoga for years to practice yoga. I know she has a really beautiful mindfulness and meditation practice. And I have been lucky enough to work with her on a very deep level in the last year. So we're just here having a conversation, having our pu'er tea as we normally do when we come here to do our sessions, and talking about her journey. Sydney is a beautiful, successful school teacher, and I'll let you introduce yourself and talk about all that we need to know about you, Sydney. But um, her journey has been very, very inspiring for me. So, welcome.
Thank you.
And so I'll just let you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about Sydney.
So yes, I'm Sydney. I think thinking about like my career, and as Paris said, I'm a school teacher. I've wanted to do that my entire life, and I became a teacher in 2020 during the pandemic, which was not the best time to start a career in education. Um, from there, I've taught a few different grades, and I really did enjoy my teaching experience. And last year, I was given a class. It wasn't the best class that I could have been given. Um, there were a lot of different needs in the class. A lot of kids just really almost like had a cry for help, but in their way of doing that, it was just the intense behaviors and cruel things that they're putting out there, and I couldn't deal with it. I felt so defeated, thinking, "Oh my goodness, I can't be a teacher. This is definitely not for me." Um, and I took all of it so much to heart, and I hit this breaking point where I was thinking to myself, like, I can't do this anymore. And I just kept coming up with more and more excuses of, oh, but I have this to do and I have this to do at work, and I have to be there for these kids. But I forgot so much about taking care of myself. But I reached that breaking point or I couldn't do it any longer. And I came to Paris and said, I can't do this anymore. Um, and immediately she like took me in and was like, it's okay, we'll get through this together. Every single day I remember she used to say to me, um like, think to myself, like, each and every day I get better and better. um I ended up having to take a leave from work and really focus on me, and that was the first time I had ever really done that in my life. And now my life is completely changed because I was able to put that time and energy, and that I really did need that wake up call of like, there's only one you have to take care of you. So yeah.
Sorry that we have to go back and forth. Thank you so much. What a beautiful, heartfelt. Like I can feel like your emotions and how much you cared about these kids and how much you care about your what you do and for the classes that are given to you and the responsibility of taking on these kids. I mean, that's not an easy thing, especially in these days, like in this society where I personally think that there needs to be more order in our schools and there needs to be more um, structure and compassion for the teachers and the caregivers as well as the children. So just to be thrown into this right after the pandemic, and everyone is overstressed and overstimulated and understimulated for many wrong reasons. And here you are, you're just given a class, go for it, you know. And I remember when you reached out to me, and well, you know, we have worked together before, but it was like, of course, like let's do this. I'm here for you. We'll get started right away. And I remember it was like around May or June of last year that you reached out to me and you sent me a message and said that you're feeling really overwhelmed, and you mentioned that you were really like drowning in sadness, which really broke my heart at the time, I know. Um, and so I know that you gave us a picture of what was happening, but what was that like for you? Like, how did you know that, okay, there's obviously, I can keep going on like this and I can give and give and more of me and show up at work and put a smile on, but there's obviously something wrong that I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is not okay. You know, I'm not okay. And first of all, it takes so much courage to know that you're not okay. But what was the moment where you were like, that's it, I'm going to call Paris? Tell us about that moment.
So yeah, I think that like overwhelming sadness and overwhelm, I think it slowly crept up, and just I kept saying, "Oh, it's probably from this and probably from that," and it just kept going forward, but it just kept getting worse and worse. I think like my breaking point was um it just got the like anxiety and depression just got so bad where I couldn't even like eat or sleep. I had this like overwhelming sense of nausea. I kept like dry heaving, and yeah, I hit this point where I'm like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't. And I was so sick. Um, and just the overwhelming sadness of just bawling my eyes out every single day, and like I knew I couldn't do that any longer, and it just that in itself became so exhausting as well. So then moving on from that, and yeah, reaching out for help and knowing that yeah, my life doesn't need to look like this. I think I had a conversation with my vice principal at work, and I said to her, I don't know how to live like this. And she was like, you need to take care of you. And that was definitely like the wake up call of like, yeah, now this is my me time to figure all of this out. And I that's when I took my leave from work. And then me and you became or started working closer together more and more. And that was my priority. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for letting us know about that. And yeah, the courage of saying, okay, this is not, I can't live like this, and I'm going to change something. And I know that at the time, you know, there's other ways of doing this, and mental health has been really challenging in our, especially in our country. But you had been going to your doctor, being on, you know, antidepressants before and things like that. I'm just curious, what made you, even though you have a yoga practice and you have a dedicated meditation practice and all of these, what what made you think, I'm gonna go with the holistic way of taking care of myself? I'm gonna go with, because you know a lot about Ayurveda and you know a lot about that fundamental parts of things, and you're like, no, I'm going there. I'm going to the holistic things. And how did you find that different from, like, if you've done talk therapy before, like how was it different to work with me in that way?
So I was so grateful that me and you already had such a beautiful relationship together. And that was definitely one of the main reasons why I chose to come with you because it was with talk therapy and like finding like a social worker or a therapist that in that sense I've like been there before where I do that and I try to find a therapist, but a lot of it was like, oh, like you might meet one therapist, but then it's not really a great match. Um, and like with my doctor and like going on medication and stuff, I still did that route, but I think it was just I was so deep in the depression hole where I did need that bit of a change to come out of it with the help of medication. Um, but like I already had that great relationship with you and knew that, you know, there's so much more to even mental health, to our well-being than just simply talking or like the body aspect of things, and knowing like that spiritual aspect and like all the different um parts of life that we get through together. So that was definitely a big reason why I chose to come to you.
Well, thank you. And yeah, so that's exactly it. We, first of all, there's the therapeutic relationship, which, my teacher, Dr. Gabor Mate, was just talking about this, and he was saying that they did a study and they found out that the most successful therapy sessions weren't even about the techniques that the therapist used or which books the therapist read. It was mostly about the connection and the presence of the therapist and the connection that is created. It's like when you and I are sitting here, every session that we've had together, we start by connecting to the source and rooting down to Mother Earth and becoming conduits of whatever information or sensations or ideas that might come through the session to help us. And something really magical and incredible happens when you take yourself out of the occasion, in a sense that, I'm the therapist and look at all the books I've read. And for me, it's about just taking myself out and becoming a conduit for whatever information is coming in. And you were so incredible in the sense that to trust and to open up your heart, open up and surrender and be like, I don't know what to do with this. Where do we go from here? And we both go, we don't know what to do with this. Where do we go from here? And that's the spiritual aspect of things. But as Ayurveda teaches us, we are whole beings. We can't just address the mind. The logical mind, the frontal cortex, can understand something very well. You know all this. Mm-hmm. You probably know almost as much as I do about meditation and yoga and mindfulness and all of these practices, but it's about implementing them. And 90% of our brain is like our subconscious brain, our limbic brain, which senses, feels things, and then connects it to the body. And I mean, there's a huge breakthrough and growth in the entire psychotherapy. I hope that this becomes bigger and bigger to find a connection between the mind and the body. But Ayurveda has taught this to us for 4,000 years, and that's one of the reasons why I love Ayurveda, is because, or Chinese medicine, or these old ancient practices, is because they've been tested over time and they're so simple. And just remembering that, yes, we are the body, we are the mind, and we are the spirit. And it's the connection between the three that allows us to have wholeness, that allows us to be well, that we can't just address one side of the coin. Like, we have to address all three parts of what's going on. And, with building that relationship and that connection, and just staying open with the river of like, what is coming through and where are we going from here? And for me as a person to walk that walk with you, it's, I'm so honored and so excited, you know? And I think that's what you feel like working
exactly.
together. It's like, this is not just like, oh my God, like another session or whatever. It's not like that at all. It's like, let's go in and see what comes out, what comes up, what do we have to work on. And with Hakomi somatic psychotherapy, what I love about Hakomi is that it so beautifully makes us in tune with the intelligence and vibration of our body. Because our body is on its own vibration, our mind goes faster. So it's already left, you know? So bringing the mind back, slowing down, and coming and dropping into the body and seeing, asking the body, really, that's what most of the major part of our work was together, to just slow down, be in this conduit connection of wholeness with all the elements, and see what the body tells us. And the body always knows, right? Like the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it really always knows what it needs or where we need to go next. And so it is a beautiful dance and kind of connection of between the mind, body, and spirit, and just the beautiful dance of slowing down and being patient and listening. Listening. I read somewhere, God gave us 2 ears and one mouth, and we can actually close the mouth, but we can't close the ears. We have to listen with our entire body. And when we do, it's only nature that guides us from winter to spring. We are nature. And somewhere along the way, we decided to disconnect ourselves from nature. And that's where all these issues and problems are coming from. It's from disconnection from nature. We are a part of nature. This is not a poem. Like, our bones have the same minerals as the earth. And we breathe in the oxygen from the air. We breathe in the prana. We have the same fire in our stomach to digest things, move things. Our lymphatic system is water. We are the element. And so when we forget this, we get disconnected. When we remember this, the elements heal us. Just go and walk on the grass and go really slow and do walking meditation, or just lying down on grass and see what happens to you. And go sit somewhere, in between concrete and cars and traffic and see what happens to you. Isn't it like that?
Oh, definitely.
So it's like remembering. It's almost like, I'm not here to add anything that you don't know. It's just that getting that guidance and help to take the layers off. So we have all these layers. We put all these like sheets over top of things that our society actually encourages us to do that. And as we take those parts out, these layers come out, and you're like, oh my God, here I am. Did it feel like that for you? Like, you're like, here's my light. Now I remember who I am. You didn't say, oh, I love this new person I've become. I should pretend to be this new person. No, it's like your authentic self. It's your light. It has always been in your heart. It will always be there. The wisdom of you has always been there. It's just been covered and covered and covered in sheets of whateverness to fit into a society, or to fit into a job, or to fit into a place where they want you to be a certain way, and so I think that brings me to the next question I have from you is like, now you had this profound transformation, and you experienced, a bigger drive and assertiveness. I think your assertiveness really, it didn't surprise me because I knew it was there, but it made me very happy when it came out,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I could tell when it the switch happened and your assertiveness came out, and I could tell your body posture shifted, your face, the way you look at people shifted, your smile shifted. So that assertiveness being such a big part of you, how has it um, how has it showed up in everyday life? What is Sydney like with all her new tools and her assertive stuff? Like, how does that show up for you?
I think like when we think of assertiveness, we might always think about um, we may think of assertiveness as like being bossy and that kind of thing, but I learned that that's not what it is. And basically with my assertiveness, it's yeah, like Paris said, I just felt like so much more like I listened to my body and I knew, okay, this is right or this isn't right. And just really like listening to that. Um, I am able to set boundaries way better at work. Before I would be, somebody would say, oh, can you do this for me and do this for me and do this for me? And I had such people pleasing characteristics to myself that I would just always say, yes, 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 no problem. Like, I'll do anything you ask me, but I'll take away my own well being to do so for you. Um, Setting those boundaries like really helped. And I think like a huge portion of my assertiveness also came from, um, like I said, listening to my body, but in the same sense of like the energy that I give out. I've been complimented now about when I'm in a group of people or even like I went to my family's cottage and my cousin's dog was there and he was just really agitated and was barking and just wasn't very happy. And I came over and I just went in with a very calm demeanor and I went over to him and my cousin was like, wow, what just happened? Like, you came over and my dog calmed right down. She was like, wow, what an incredible thing. Your energy of such a beautiful energy to you. And it wasn't about being the assertiveness wasn't coming from being like, oh, sit down right now, dog. Like it was, I just came in with that sense of calmness, but like very strong in my body language and then everybody like picked up on that. Um so it's just so cool to see that like it doesn't need to come from your voice. It's just coming from your energy and just your body language and everything like that. So but it's been so great to like have that assertiveness because then it's before I used to just like yeah be more reserved and like hunched over and very mousy, but now it's like oh let me put my shoulders back and like let me no I don't want to do that so I'm not going to do it. And even just my body will say that for me. I don't need to even use my voice for that, so it's so incredible.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. I love that story of like because animals can read energy, right? So they know your frequency, they can see your aura. And I love that you mentioned you used to think maybe that's assertiveness might be like bossiness or whatever. And I think that's a really important point to talk about, especially about women, because we're taught as little girls to be nice and to be quiet and and so it's almost like we kill that part of ourselves. And a woman, when she stands up and speaks her truth or tells people what she needs, can be called all sorts of names, bossy, this and that. But if you think about it, we never call a man that. We call them strong. Yes. Oh yeah, I'll follow your lead. And so I think as women, this is super important to learn, relearn, because you came into this world knowing all this knowledge, but it has been killed over time. And so to learn again how to hold yourself in that beautiful aligned energy, because as soon as we hunch over, actually energetically we disconnect, right? So now I'm like this kind of like I'm now I don't know, I'm confused. What is my next move? But when we bring the shoulders back and we take a breath and we connect the crown chakra to the source, connect our root, our root chakra, our hips that have so much of that energy of Mother Earth into the ground, then I show up differently. I speak differently,
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would you feel if I was sitting here and talking to you like, oh my God, okay, yeah, send you whatever, it's a different energy.
Yeah.
And so just that alignment, like just put your shoulders back, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and see how that one motion, that one movement changes things for you, changes the way you think, changes the ideas that come to you, changes the way you show up in a room. Some people enter the room and we all go, wow, who is she? Yeah. And so it's very much that assertiveness is very much something that we carry in our being, in our energy, in our energetic field. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like some nights I do the mantras a lot, like I do the Vedic mantras, I do fire ceremonies, and I just sit there and meditate on the fire and say these mantras again and again and again. And this has been my tool in my personal life when I don't know what else to do, or I don't have the answers, or things are difficult. I just do that. And I just sit and chant and chant and chant. And sometimes the next day, if I enter somewhere, I can catch people looking, like, because people sense, it's like you now carry that energy with you. Yeah. And so everything that we do, all the mantras, all the yoga, all the meditation, all the practices, all the books we read, it's like, how much of that are we actually presenting in our being? Yeah. That's really, like, that's who we become.
Exactly.
And also, I think that one other important thing with all the studies in quantum physics and everything else is that when you are showing up as that, it's like you enter a room and everyone turns towards you and their feelings change, because we are beings like that. Like, if you put a cell in front of the other cell, they become kind of, they mirror each other. Yes. Yeah. So like, it's like that powerful. Yeah. And this is where we need to really remember and understand how important it is, the people that surround us. Yeah. Yeah. So like, there is, I think, I can't remember the exact saying, but there's a saying that says, before you diagnose yourself with depression, look around and make sure you're indeed not surrounded by assholes. Yes. And I think, I can't remember who said that, but anyways, it is like that. Yeah. So like, I always give the example of, if you put a beautiful fruit in beside a rotten fruit, within a couple of days the fruit becomes rotten. Yeah. And so the opposite applies as well. Mm-hmm. So you are the sum of the 5 people around you that you hang out with. So paying attention to that, and your environment is so important, you know? So that brings me to the next question, asking you, what do you think, if someone is listening to us right now and maybe they have been not themselves lately, or maybe they're struggling with sadness, or they're just can't get their energy up, or they are maybe in depression, what do you think, like, what is the first thing you would tell them to do?
I think the first thing I would definitely tell them is, like, this is just a temporary thing right now, even if you've struggled it with your whole life. Because like, definitely when I look back, like, on my childhood, I was definitely like a very anxious child, and like I definitely did go through like bouts of depression when I was a child, but like back in the early 2000s, and like that was very unheard of. Like, it wasn't we didn't talk about it as much, but So even if you've been like feeling like this your whole life, like just know that like it is temporary, and like there are so many ways that we can like better our life, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you just have to make sure that you ask for help, and you trust that in yourself, that yeah, right now I'm not okay, and it's like ask for help, and it really like it will literally change your life, as my work with you, Paris, for the past year, and just knowing that like I need to make a change for myself, that it's not an easy feat, but you put the work in, and you are you are very oh my goodness, what is the word for it?
Capable.
Yes, capable. Yeah, you've got this, and just ask for help and put in the work, and then you will definitely like see some changes going on.
Thank you. I think that's I love that. Yeah, just the things will not stay the same. And I think that kind of takes us back to what I was just talking about the elements. Because if you look around nature, you'll see that nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
So you're going through some winter. You're going through winter, and it's okay.
Yeah.
When we're in the depth of winter and everything's gray outside and so cold and everything's dead, we could look around and think, this really sucks, this will never change. But we all know that spring is coming. So spring will always come. And just remembering that in nature, it's the law of nature. If you just stay with something and accept it, I think acceptance is very, very important. When we don't accept something, we're like, no, I'm fine, or I can push through this, or no, like, there's nothing wrong with me, then things are tight. So prana cannot come in and flow through you. And when there's no prana in the body, there's illness. Yeah, the back starts hurting, the body starts hurting, the digestion's not working properly. All of a sudden now your neck hurts. You're like, what is happening to me? But the moment you accept, and I think that's what you did, Sydney, you were like, I accept that I cannot live like this. This is not me.
Exactly.
I cannot do this. Like, I cannot live watching myself. My body is suffering, my mind is suffering. I accept this, and now I'm going to reach out for help, or I'm going to take on my tools to change this. And I accept that I can't do it by myself. I accept that. That's really courageous too, because you're like, okay, I'm like, I've I'm like used all of my energy. What do I do now? How do I get up from here? And we're tribal beings. We were never supposed to do this life thing on our own. And our Western society really encourages people to be very narcissistic in a way. Everyone's for themselves, and you're the most important thing. And look at what has happened to us, psychologically and emotionally and spiritually. So find your tribe. Find your tribe, even if it's like two other people. Ask for help. Make sure you're surrounded by really good people, like, good hearted people. Another thing that I now do in my life is like, if I was dying, would this person save me? If I was like drowning in the river or something, would they jump in to save me? Would they go out of their way or risk their own life for me? And if the answer is no, that person is not going to be in my life. Yeah. And I'm so happy. I've never been happier than now with all the people and the support and the friends and the clients that I have. Even in my clients, I'm like that. Yes. I'm like, do I want do I want to work with this person? Are they, what vibration are they willing to be in? If they're willing, it doesn't matter how low they are right now, but if they're willing to surrender and to be open to the unknown and to ask for help, I'm there for them. But anything other than that, I don't work with people like that. So setting your boundaries and knowing this is good for me, that's not good for me. And that's exactly what you did, Sydney, which I'm so proud of you for setting the boundaries in the physiological way too, where you said, you know what, I'm not going back to work like every day anymore. I'm gonna stick to having a choice, having a freedom, working with that prana, because I feel like when I'm there every day and I have to do this and that after work, that's where things start going down, and recognizing that and going, okay, where's the middle way for me? Let me do this middle way. Let me make sure I have time for my walks every day, my meditations, my breath work, you know?
Yeah.
And when that's another thing, when people say I don't have time for that, you're it's not that you don't have time for it, you're not making it a priority. So what are you making a priority in your life? What is important to you? You can absolutely work around things to make that happen. And so I'm just wondering, as we come to the end of our chat together, um, what is next for you? Sydney, what do you have planned, or do you have new goals and things to look forward to? I know you're coming to Costa Rica with me, so that's going to be amazing. But what goals and plans do you have?
I think like when I think about the future and everything that is next for me, I've really just like surrendered to the idea of just like taking what comes at me and taking like when an opportunity like presents itself upon me, then I like make sure that I make the like I take into consideration all the aspects of this opportunity, but I just try to go with the flow and go for it. So like I have a new teaching position coming up this year where I'm teaching kindergarten, which is my most favorite grade. And I'm so lucky to have a great team with me at work. And I think just, yes, and I have Costa Rica coming up, which I'm so excited about. I've always put that to the wayside and said, like, oh, yeah, I want to come, but I never made it a priority. I said, oh, yeah, I have work, I have this, I have that. But I was like, no, now is the time to do it. So I'm young and I don't have any kids yet. So I definitely want to like take this opportunity for myself. Um, and even just not like worrying about what other people think of me as well. I was talking to my grandfather and he was like, a retreat. Only people like older people go on retreats. And I'm like, what? Like, you're too young for that. I'm like, no, I'm not. There's never there like you're never too young or too old to do anything. Just whatever you desire, like just put your mind to it and work towards it, and then you can get that. And yeah, so I'm just so excited about going to Costa Rica and just like whatever life hands to me. And yeah, and it feels so nice to know that like, yeah, you don't need to plan your whole life as well. People are, oh, I want to go and do this. I want to go and study this. I'm going to work towards this. I have to do this, this, and this. Just sometimes just go with the flow and see what comes at you and take it when it comes. And so, and it's now I can almost like sit back and just wait for things to come instead of always planning, because that's so exhausting.
Yes. Beautiful. I love that. Going with the flow, going with the waves. You know, we when we start fighting the waves, life becomes so hard. But when we learn to surf the waves, that's when we can just be in ease. Do your part for sure. Like there's a part where you have to put in the effort and do your part. And then just don't be attached to the outcome and just sit and watch. Because once you change your vibration to a higher state of being, which is that what happened with you walking in with the dog, you are in that higher vibration and the dog can sense that. Once you do that, it's the law of universe to send you more vibrations like that.
Yeah.
So you just sit back and enjoy the miracle, enjoy the magic of everything. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today, Sydney. It was such an honor to have you. And I'm sure we'll sit together again. Is there anything else that you wanted to say that we didn't talk about today? Amazing. So, for those of you who might be interested in joining us for a Costa Rica retreat, the retreat that Sydney is coming is completely sold out, but I have two other ones coming in 2025. I'll put the links down below. And if you feel like you're ready for